Hello, my magnificent young world changers. Are you ready to learn some law, some constitutional law, and change the world? Well, we have to talk briefly about the Eighth Amendment, even though that's not in your textbook. But if you're going to be involved in business, and we're going to have a business course on law, business, and society, we must talk for a few minutes about the Eighth Amendment. You may remember the Eighth Amendment because it's the one that says there shall be no cruel and unusual punishments. So basically, torture is outlawed in this country, no cruel and unusual punishments. But for a business owner, there's something else in there that's just as important, and that is, nor shall the government impose any excessive fines. So the government imposes one of these huge multi-thousand or multi-million-dollar fines on you. You have the right to appeal that decision up through the administrative agency, and if you can't get relief after appealing all the way up through the administrative agency, you have the right to go to a court of law and ask the judge to intervene. So no excessive fines. A number of U.S. Supreme Court cases, U.S. versus Bajikajian is one of the most famous ones, and state of California Supreme Court cases like Lockyer versus R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company make it clear that excessive fines imposed by government regulators on businesses are unconstitutional. Two things that you need to know when challenging a fine, a large fine imposed upon your business by a government regulator. The first one is that before you can ask a court of law to intervene, before you can sue the government agency over an excessive fine, you must first go all the way up through whatever appeals process is required by the agency within the agency itself. So if a regulator comes to your business and imposes a big fine and you say, I don't agree with that fine, what do I do next? They may say, well, first you have to go to my supervisor or a panel of 3 guys at the agency, and they will hear your case. And if you don't get the decision that you like from them, then you've got to go up to the head of the agency and present your case to them. And then if you don't get relief there, then you have exhausted all your administrative remedies, and now you can go to the court of law. So that's the first thing you need to know, and then you need to know the term of art, legal term of art that describes that condition. This sometimes shows up on a test, and the legal term of art is exhaust all administrative remedies. Exhaust all administrative remedies. That term means that if you were to go and sue the State Environmental Protection Agency over an excessive fine, the first thing the judge in the court would do is say, well, have you already exhausted all administrative remedies? Which means, have you been all the way up through the appeals process within the administrative agency first? Because you must first give them a chance to correct their alleged error. If you have not been all the way up through their appeals process, the judge will say, well, then get out of my court, go back there and go through the appeals process. So before you can ask a court of law to intervene, you must first exhaust all administrative remedies. The next thing you need to know, and very important though, is if you do decide to appeal a fine imposed by a government regulator, the time to get your lawyer involved in that appeals process is before the very first administrative hearing. Because at that very first administrative hearing, you must raise all of the legal defenses and legal arguments that you have. If you don't raise them at that first hearing, the chances are that you've lost the right to raise them later, because you're only allowed to appeal based upon the issues that you raised at the first hearing. So get your lawyer involved before going to the first hearing so that all of the possible legal defenses and arguments that you have are raised at that first hearing and preserved for the appeals process if you have to go further than that. Okay, that's it on the Eighth Amendment. Remember, no excessive fines to be imposed upon your business. If you're going to be in business in California, you really need to remember that one.